What's good, YouTube? Masex back with another video, and we're going to be finishing up the big board for Mel Kiper Jr. If you haven't already checked out the first video, College Prospects 1 through 10, this video will be 11 through 20. And if you're new to the channel, of course, definitely like and subscribe. Support the channel. We're on the way to 1K. I definitely appreciate it. As I mentioned, 11 to 20, I'm not going to say too much in this intro. I just want to hop straight into it. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, we're going to pop things off where we last left off. We're looking at the number 11th prospect for Mel Kiper. The analysis will be a little bit shorter in this video, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and start off with Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami, listed at 6'2", 223 pounds. Now, Cam Ward is one of those players that I always will respect, just from his journey in high school all the way to where he's gotten now. Rapid development since high school, then transition over to Incarnate Word, Washington State, and now in the ACC at Miami. Cam Ward to me popped off the screen last year at Washington State. I didn't really see him too much as a QB prospect, day 3 at best, but as I mentioned, he just continues to develop overall. And I love his playmaking ability, can extend plays, and he's like a dual threat quarterback, but he's a pass first dual threat quarterback. I do have my concerns if he's placed in a pro style offense, and also question his pre-snap reads and the progression speed after the snap. 5th-year guy, but he's definitely good enough to sneak in the first round. At number 12, we have Jalon, linebacker out of Georgia, listed at 6'2", 245 pounds. And this guy's stock is booming like every week. Versatile linebacker. He has the size at 6'2", 245 of an NFL linebacker, has that NFL frame. Burst into the scenes last year in the SEC championship game, and that's really what put him on the map against Bama. Had 2 sacks, many pressures that game. He's an exceptional athlete. Looking on film, he looks like he might run a 4.4 at the combine. Really just experience is the biggest thing, and may need some development from his lack of experience in college, but he's somebody that you take a gamble on in the first round potentially. Moving on to number 13, we have Tet McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona, listed at 6'5", about 205 pounds. And Tet McMillan, I've made many videos before, well worth the hype going into the season. Another year living up to it. With his frame, he's an NFL X wide receiver. He's actually very agile and a pretty good route runner for someone as lanky and long as Tet McMillan is. Doesn't have the best supporting cast around him at Arizona. Can very easily be the #1 wide receiver in this class from a talent perspective. With his thin build frame, sometimes I do wonder what the physicality of those press corners at the NFL level will be like for him. That will for sure be an adjustment period. But Tet McMillan can go up, make the throws, run pretty much any route that you want. And he's pretty decent yards after catch, which I feel is very underrated. Tet McMillan, to me, is a top 15 pick. At number 14, Mel Kiper has James Pierce Jr. as his 14th best prospect. Out of Tennessee, edge rusher at 6'4", 240 pounds. Now his stock's dropped for sure compared to where it was preseason. On a lot of mock drafts, he was the #1 pick. He's really young, true junior. Still, to me, in my opinion, has all the potential in the world. Even in a year that's not necessarily leading to expectation, has 7.5 sacks at the time of this recording. You can see offenses scheme away from him. The stats aren't going to tell the full story, but he still has everything that you want in an elite pass rusher, and that's an elite get off. He has a pretty good build. A little light at 240 is what he's listed at, so I do wonder with NFL offensive linemen how effective he'll be in the running game. So he'll need to definitely continue to add strength, maybe add some more size as well. But James Pierce Jr., I'm not going to run away just because he's not quote-unquote dominating in his true junior year. I still think he's an elite pass rusher and one of the best defensive prospects in this class, if not the best. At number 15, we have Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan, listed at 6'2", 339 pounds. As an Indiana guy, I always root for native Indiana prospects from Maryville, Indiana. Went to Maryville High School. Last year, second team All Big Ten. And he's one of those guys where he's big, but he's very athletic for his size at 340. Rumored that he'll run sub-5 flat, which is very fast for somebody that size. I mean, you see the motor on film, and he's somebody that does have the versatility because he's so athletic for his size. So I'm not sure if he's the 15th best prospect, but nonetheless, Kenneth Grant, I'll continue to watch him a little bit more and see if it's warranted. At number 16, we have Jihaad Campbell, another linebacker out of Alabama, listed at 6'3", 244 pounds. Has that 5-star pedigree coming into Bama. Originally was recruited as an edge rusher, transitioned into stand-up linebacker this year. 5 sacks in his true junior year, so he still has those instincts and skill sets to get in the backfield. But he's a sideline-to-sideline linebacker. He's another prospect that's rising up the board, and a lot of that is his versatility. The Sam, Will, edge, I don't think it really matters. He's a prospect that has that versatility. Now, the same thing that goes with versatility could be a knock for some GMs, as he could be seen as a tweener. Potentially could sneak as a day one. You don't see too many linebackers nowadays drafted day one with a really nice finish to the season and a really good combine. Maybe Jihaad Campbell's that guy that can go late first. At number 17, we have Derrick Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon, originally with Michigan State, listed at 6'5", 310 pounds. He looks like a legitimate 6'5", and even at 6'5", plays with pretty good leverage most of the time. Now, sometimes when he sleeps on the mechanics, he does fly off the ball pretty high, which he'll lose that size advantage when you do that, and you also lose a lot of leverage and power. But he's an inside-outside defensive tackle. Looks like Cam Hayward, and I'm not saying that he is a Cam Hayward, but no, I mean, he literally looks like Cam Hayward when he straps up, but he's a prospect to watch for sure. At number 18, we have Luther Burden III out of Missouri, listed at 5'10", 212 pounds. And Luther Burden is one of my favorite players in the class. His hype has died down this season in comparison to where it was just a few months ago, but he has that running back build and he plays like a running back with the ball in his hands. He's been on my channel a few times and I always refer to the Deebo Samuel comparisons, but I do feel his route running is a lot more advanced than where Deebo Samuel was when he was coming into the draft out of South Carolina. Missouri in general as an offense is having a down year, but I still think that Luther Burden is a top 3 wide receiver at his position. And from one prospect with his stock dropping to another, that's Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU, listed at 6'5", 323 pounds. Hasn't been elite this year, has had some games where he struggled from what I've seen. I still feel he's a day one tackle, but his stock is continuing to drop just across many platforms that you're going to see online. It's just one of those when you look at the tape in whole and you look at the body, the measurements, the resume, he's still just one of those guys that I can see as a top 10 tackle. And sometimes this just happens in waivers throughout the season and whatnot, but Will Campbell is still elite in my eyes. And last but not least, we're going to stop right here at Shavon Revel Jr. out of East Carolina. Shavon Revel, to me, looks like a future all-pro corner in the making with his size, listed at 6'3". Tore his ACL a few games into the season this year, but watching him on film, he looks like everything you want in a future CB1 of the future. We'll have to monitor and see what that does to his stock. I do feel that he's a top 30 prospect in this draft. I'm not sure what implications this ACL injury will have on his draft stock, but Shavon Revel is definitely somebody that could be potentially one of the better players in this draft. All right, there you have it. These are 11 through 20 for Mel Kiper's big board. So if you saw the last video, if you haven't already, definitely, as I mentioned, go ahead and check that out. Here's 11 through 20. We already know with Mel Kiper, there's going to be a big board update every few weeks and whatnot, so I'll definitely try to keep you guys plugged in on that. Here in the near future, we got my top 5 positional rankings where we're going over every position and we're going to look at who I rank as some of the best in this draft class coming up. Definitely, if you made it this far in the video, I deeply appreciate it. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. The support is deeply appreciated. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this Thanksgiving plate. I hope y'all have a good one and I'll see y'all in the next video. Cheat.